Hello, Germany. A very good afternoon to Europe. Hello, Internet. Ladies and gentlemen. Masks and lockdown, apocalyptic forecasts, aluminium hats, social distancing and gloomy pictures. We've been going through a year that looked like a roller coaster ride, a year with highs and lows, ups and downs, a year that was mind-bogglingly fast and paralyzingly slow at the same time, a year between hopes and fears, between anxiety and confidence, a year that was unprecedented and that goes by one name, coronavirus. In December 2019, when we first gave thought to the concept of this event, hardly anyone talked about corona. The topic of fear we had in mind, and we had in mind how risks shape our societal climate by generating fears. And then the corona crisis set in and confirmed us more than we ever wanted to be confirmed. But this is not something we would wish to stop at risks as a challenge for society. This topic has got manifold facets. Even before the corona pandemic, it was topical and it will be afterwards. And we've put confidence on the agenda just the same, because we believe in a defiant fashion, mind you. We believe in a good or acceptable ending at least. Having said that, I would like to give you a very warm welcome to our BfR Stakeholder Conference in a new format as a knowledge dialogue of the Federal Institute for Risk Assessment. This time round, it's going to take place here in Berlin in the Magnus-Haus. The address is Kupfergraben. Between fear and confidence, how risks challenge society. This is the title of today's BfR Knowledge Dialogue event. The Magnus-Haus is a historic place. It's not just because the Chancellor Merkel lives nearby, but this is where science history was written. The first Institute of Physics of Germany was founded and managed here. The house was acquired in 1840 by Professor Gustav Magnus, and the house served as a scientific center for encounters, not just aiming at training physicists, fostering discussion and exchange between the different disciplines. So it's not by coincidence that we picked this place. And let me at this point in time extend my gratitude to the German Physical Society for having lent us these beautiful rooms and premises for our knowledge dialogue. 175 registered participants could have been gathered here in a presence format for our dialogue. We could have tried to have that discussion, but today we're going to hold this meeting in a digital fashion. And there's also a third premiere. For the first time with this event, we participate in the Berlin Science Week, and we're all the more delighted about this because the reach of the Science Week is quite remarkable. Many of you might have noticed the big advertising banners when walking through Berlin. The coronavirus urged us to have this event in a hybrid fashion today, and quite spontaneously so. So let me also extend my warmest welcome to all the participants online, and it's a great pleasure to me to be welcoming knowledgeable and very appreciated representatives of different groups of societies online in particular. A couple of members of parliament of German Bundestag in particular, coming from the Committee for Food and Agriculture. And apart from policymakers, let me also welcome representatives of science and research and the media, representatives of the Robert Koch Institute, the Charité University Hospital, and from many national, international universities. And let me, of course, also welcome all the speakers who are going to shed light on some individual aspects of our topic today with their papers. It's been for 15 years that the BfR, the Risk Assessment Institute, has held its stakeholder conferences, and they're rich in tradition, and today they are called knowledge dialogues. We started out in 2005 with a conference focusing on the costs of a crisis, i.e. a topic which, just like today's topic, is very cross-cutting and is relevant in many societal realms, or can become more relevant than people might have expected. This to happen. And this is also quite deliberately the intention of those stakeholder conferences. The questions we look into in the framework of these conferences follow the mandate of our Federal Institute of Risk Assessment as Federal Institute of Ministerial Research, but they are also of great societal relevance. So they're not purely scientific, technical forums, but also relevant for consumer-related issues that are reflected in other walks of life. And this also goes for today's event, where we focus on questions such as what are the risks that societies are challenged by, and should we face them with fear or confidence, rather, and do this in a scientific and practical fashion. And the fact that this is highly topical, something that is visible in all sorts of different levels in the news and in what we read. And it's not just the coronavirus that is mentioned here, but also biodiversity, microplastics, climate change, glyphosate. These are just some of the buzzwords that we often meet in where we see interfaces between policy making, the media, and science. What is this down to? We might seem to believe that our society is in a state of constant alert, but is this justified? Don't we tend to exaggerate it? Don't we live in the safest of all times? German angst as a connotation of all decision-making processes in our society. Fear and anxiety are integral parts of life, and they protect us from dangers. But when they turn into panic and when they lead us to behave irrationally, they do more harm than good. How can we thus contain them, and how can we regain trust and confidence? Don't we all follow the evolutionary pattern that's been sounded out for thousands of years? There are just three options when faced with danger: seeking refuge, fighting, or acting as if we were dead. Isn't there more to it? We are all faced with these complex issues today as well, and this results from our tasks as the BfR, as the Risk Assessment Center, as a scientific institute. We are in charge of assessing risks for food, consumer products, health-related consumer protection, that is. But we have a legal mandate also to communicate on risk pertaining to specific products. What are yardsticks? Our institute, the BfR, relies on the standards of science and the rules of sound scientific practice. And to do so, we also foster close exchange with the public. And this is what we do today, by the way. Risks and their communication is something we're faced with, not just in science and research, but also in other walks of life. And this is what we're going to focus on for the 3 hours to come. We would like to broach the challenges and difficulties that we need to address, not just here in the BfR, but also in other institutions. Whether it is deliberate fear-mongering, or whether it's controversial appraisal of scientific facts by the public, or the right way of filtering information and disinformation. Our speakers from the fields of philosophy, journalism, media, humanities, and natural sciences are going to present us with their points of view. And in the heart of our event, we have this semantic dichotomy between fear and confidence. Is fear always appropriate? How can we react to it? How can we stifle it? And how can we, on the other hand, promote confidence? What is real, veritable risk, and what is just man-made? What's the role that the media play? And how can we deal with ignorance, uncertainty, and contradictions? And I'm very thrilled to learn today how the different disciplines represented by our speakers respond to these issues. And maybe we will find a way of learning more about informing the public clearly, how we can prevent them from having unjustified fears, and how we can spread optimism. To wrap this up, I would like to give you a metaphor that you might have in the back of your mind in the course of this evening. Please all recall Don Quixote, the knight, the sad knight, who rode his horse Rocinante on the sides of Sancho Panza, fighting against windmills that he believed to be dangerous giants, and he was going to protect his Dulcinea making every effort to do so, and judging every danger subjectively. And this is how science feels today. Constantly we're forced to cope with imaginary risks and to deconstruct the giants that we're faced with, to reveal that they're just windmills, analyzing data to do away with fake news, do away with myths, providing clear and honest information. And this is what not just authorities need to be proficient in, but other institutions as well, be it universities, higher education, expert societies, and each and every scientist or researcher. And we're looking at the program. We will learn more about this tonight. I'm quite sure about it, why these risks are challenging us more than ever before and how we can face them effectively. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a very fruitful discussion tonight. And at this point, I would have handed over to our host, Ulrich Schnabel, who would have guided us through tonight's event, but unfortunately he cannot fill these shoes today. But Ms. Dr. Böhl, head of department here at the BfR for risk communication, will jump in, guiding us through this event. Have fun and feel inspired.